I realized fully that we are the creators of our life, which means that if I created, maybe on a subconscious level, I created some undesirable situation, that means that if I accept the responsibility of creating that situation, even though it wasn't consciously, then I can uncreate it, or I can recreate a different reality, a different situation that's going to be better and in more alignment with me and what I want. So find a way to... Hello, beautiful starseeds. My name is Monica, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to feel empowered. So it feels so good to be back making videos. I took the last couple of weeks off for a much needed break, not just from videos, but from everything. I was just extremely exhausted and feeling burnt out. What I believe I was experiencing was, I don't know, someone call it like DNA activations or ascension symptoms. I remember watching another spiritual teacher a while back who was like, oh, if you want, DNA upgrades and activations, all you have to do is ask for them. And she said, be prepared if you ask for them that you're going to be extremely exhausted. And she was like, I couldn't get out of bed for days. And that's exactly how I felt. I wasn't sick. I didn't have a headache or a stomach ache or a fever or any of the normal signs for being sick. I didn't feel bad in that sense. I was just really tired. And I had remembered what she said when I was laying there most of the day in bed for a few days. And not only that, but yesterday I went to go write in my journal, my scripting journal. And I saw just this one line that I had wrote in the book. It said, your DNA is being upgraded. I honestly don't remember when I wrote this. I don't remember exactly why. I do remember that I wanted to start trying to channel my subconscious or channel something. And so I sat down to write and I just wrote that line and my jaw just dropped when I read that because it happened, I think, shortly before I started feeling exhausted. Not only that, but I had bought a new book on Kindle and I was reading it, and it's by Elizabeth April that says, you're not dying, you're just waking up. And she says that the whole book is basically like a DNA activator to help you remember who you are because the information is so powerful. So it was very fitting that I was reading that book as I was having my DNA activated. And not only that, but there was a chapter that I started reading the day that I felt the most exhausted. And the beginning of the chapter literally said, hey Starseed, are you feeling tired? And I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm feeling so tired right now. I was like, how does she know? It was just so many cool synchronicities that gave me confirmation that that's what was happening. And so yeah, definitely be warned, if you do ask for DNA activations or upgrades, you will feel tired. It may not come as soon as you ask it, right then and there, but later on when it does happen, I think you'll know that it's happening. So anyways, while I was going through all of that, I was almost borderline depressed because I didn't know what was going on at first, and I felt so guilty for not doing the things on my to-do list, my day-to-day, for not making videos, but my body was just calling me to rest. It was like, you have to rest, you just have to. And so I basically surrendered after a few days, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to take this time to rest. And also, I was just feeling very blocked. I wasn't getting any downloads. I didn't have any information to channel for the videos. I had some ideas from the past that I've written down for video topics I wanted to do, but they weren't flowing the way that they normally would. And I tried to do one video, but the audio just completely messed up and it was unusable. So I just gave up that day and I was like, it'll be saved for another day. Now I am back and I'm feeling so much better. I'm feeling more energized and aligned, and I feel the creative flow back in me. So we're going to get started with some of the lessons I have learned during these last 2 weeks, and starting with this video about empowerment. So how this started was last night I was listening to Anna Wood on Instagram. She had a Q&A. And she said something about taking responsibility for everything in your life. And at the time, like right away, it didn't exactly resonate with me. I was just like, well, wait, what does that mean? Everything? And she was explaining some examples, and she was like, no matter what happens to you, whether it seems good or bad, just take responsibility for it. And I'm just like, why would I take responsibility for what other people have done to me? But the more I thought about it, the more it started making sense to me. And this is the way I see it now. As soon as I thought about that, I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, I'm going to start taking responsibility for everything in my life, everything that happens, everything that I do or don't do. And even if someone, quote unquote, does something to me, I'm going to take responsibility in the sense of my ability to respond to what they did, to whatever the situation is. That's what responsibility means to me. So there are usually two ways we can go about taking responsibility. We can either feel guilty and blame ourselves for what happened, which in a way is taking responsibility. And that is what leads us to be the victim. Or we can say, and I'll just point out my personal beliefs, I believe that we all consciously chose to come to this earth and incarnate as a human and have this experience. I also believe that we have something called soul contracts as like a blueprint of all the experiences that we want to have in our life. And usually the older the soul, meaning however many times the soul is incarnated, whether it's on Earth or different planets, how much experience they've had, they usually have tougher experiences, especially here in the 3D realm. They've chose these tougher experiences because they knew that their soul could handle it. Your soul is not going to give you anything that you can't handle. And the second reason is because it's what we need to experience in order to learn and grow. This is the way that we keep going with our expansion of our consciousness, is going through all kinds of different experiences, whether we perceive them as good or bad. So when I stopped blaming other people or blaming, something outside of me, I started to realize that yes, I came down here, I made soul contracts with other people to have certain experiences. So what am I learning from those experiences? Am I learning valuable lessons about myself, about other people, about the world around me? Or am I just going, oh, poor me, that happened to me, I'm such a victim? So either we can play the victim or we can play the victor. And I'm going to give an example of a friend who I hadn't talked to in a while, and I was catching up on what was going on with her. And she was telling me this story about being in this very dysfunctional, unhealthy relationship for 2 years during the time that we weren't talking, and that he was very controlling, very possessive, very jealous, and mentally and emotionally abusive. And while she was telling me all of the terrible things that had happened and all of the terrible things that he had done, in the end, when she was wrapping up the story, she told me that she is so grateful for that experience and what it taught her, especially because she couldn't see why other women would be in the same situation before she went through it. And she would be just thinking like, why don't you just leave? Why are you choosing to stay in this, abusive or unhealthy relationship? And she said after having this experience, she was able to have more compassion because she could see it from the other side. And now she knows what she doesn't want, which helps her to know what she does want in a relationship. And I was like, that is the most profound, mature, and responsible response I have heard for a negative situation like that. Life is all how you perceive it. If we perceive it through a fear mentality, a victim mentality, we're going to lower our vibration. If we perceive it from a finding the good within the bad, then we're going to have more of a victor kind of mentality. And we're going to be able to process it easier, and we're going to be able to move on. It's almost like you graduated. Like if you have these certain lessons that keep appearing over and over again, It's going to keep happening until we learn what we need to learn from it, whatever our soul signed up for. And once we choose to find that positive in the negative, as difficult as that can seem sometimes, we still have to see it in order to move on. And I thought about myself, like how different I would be now if I had a victim mentality about the racism I experienced when I was a child living in the South. I could have had a mentality that I'm a victim and everybody who's white is racist and they owe me something because of what one or two people did back then. Instead, I chose to respond in a way that I know that not everybody who's white is racist, that I know that some people are harboring anger and resentment about something and they chose to take it out on me. But that doesn't mean that I have to carry that with me and be angry about it forever. It doesn't mean that I have to go break into a building, into a store and steal a TV on behalf of my victimhood. It doesn't make logical sense, but that is how we tend to react in a way that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense from whatever we're carrying in our vibration, depending on how we're perceiving what's going on in our life. I remember hearing a saying that said something like, live life like it's on purpose. Live as if everything that happens was your choice, which kind of sounds crazy in a way, but I do resonate with that now because my higher consciousness, my soul, my subconscious, whatever it is that chose to have these experiences, they're happening for a reason. They're not just random. It's not just because I'm unlucky. They're meant to happen. Every moment is a perfect moment. Every moment is exactly what it needs to be, and I am exactly where I need to be. So once I stopped blaming everyone else outside of me and everything else and feeling sorry for myself because of what I don't have or what happened to me, I immediately felt so empowered, which I know can sound counterintuitive. It's like, well, if I'm taking responsibility for what happened to me, wouldn't I feel worse? And I'm not saying that by taking responsibility for everything in our lives that we have to be happy about what happened, that we deserve what happened, that we're bad people, that we should have been punished, or we did this, so that's why that happened, and we deserved it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, how are you going to respond to the situation? Everything is a choice. Because we as humans have free will, we get to decide how we think about things and then how we feel about them and then what we're going to do about them. But the only way that we can take that power back is we have to be fully conscious of what we're thinking, of what we're feeling, and how we're acting. When we get triggered, we have to ask ourselves, why did I get triggered? What happened? Because that's just a reminder of something that's unresolved within you. And then you can take a look at it instead of blaming other people for you being triggered. And a lot of people like to compare traumas and like to go, well, so you're saying I'm responsible for, let's say for me, for being homeless. I'm responsible for not having a father in my life. I'm responsible for this or that. Yes, in a way, because I chose it before I came down here. I made those contracts with people and they were only supposed to be in my life for the amount of time that they were in my life. Anyone who's meant to be in your life is going to be in your life. Not everyone's meant to be there forever. So once I fully accepted that, I felt so free. I felt like I had just dissolved so much baggage because I realized fully that we are the creators of our life, which means that if I created, maybe on a subconscious level, not consciously, I created some undesirable situation. That means that if I accept the responsibility of creating that situation, even though it wasn't consciously, then I can uncreate it, or I can recreate a different reality, a different situation that's going to be better and in more alignment with me and what I want. That is powerful. But if I'm outsourcing my power to other people, saying, well, it's your fault that I'm this way, and it's that person's fault that I'm that way, how can I do anything about it if I'm giving all the power to other people? Then I'm saying it's their responsibility to change before I can change. And those people most likely will never change. Or if something's already been done, they can't go and take it back. They can apologize, but they can't go back and change the situation. It's already happened. So are we going to accept it and move on and learn from it? Or are we going to make that our identity? But being a victim may be what had served us at that time. We needed to identify with what happened to us because we didn't know how else to process it. But then there comes a time where we stop making that our identity and letting go and accepting a new way of responding to the situation. Maybe we have to give it a new meaning. Maybe we have to look at it from some different perspectives. There's good within the bad. There's bad within the good. That's life. Pros and cons to everything. And sometimes being the victim also serves us in a way because it teaches us a lesson of, okay, I want to know what it's like to be disempowered in order to understand what it feels like to be empowered. That's duality, the polarization of 3D, the black and the white, the up and the down. Sometimes the best way to learn, I know for me, is to be doing the opposite of what I truly want in order to know what I truly want, if that makes sense. And on the flip side of that, of accepting total and full responsibility of my life and what I created and what I can go and create that's different, I also came to realize today that it is not my responsibility to process everyone else's emotions, everyone else's reactions to me, to what I say, to how I feel, to who I am as a person. And that I'm actually going to save for another video I'll post after this video, because I have a lot more I want to say on that, and I feel like this video is getting kind of lengthy, so I'll end it there. If this video resonated with you in some way, please give a thumbs up to let me know. I know not everyone will, and that's okay, but this is where I am right now on my level of consciousness. But if you want to catch the next video, which I think is going to be very helpful for empaths, make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell so you don't miss that next video. All right, everyone, that is my video for today. Hope it helped you in some way. And until next time, as always, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.